He's Marler, and this is his music show.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another craptastic episode of the Marler Music Show. My name is David, otherwise known as the Marler, and I hope everybody's doing well today. It's a Sunday, beautiful Sunday afternoon here. I thought I'd take this time to get another episode up. So this week I kind of debated on which way to go with this episode. I contemplated another album review, concert review, a top five or whatever. But so uh, earlier in the week, I was coming across, or maybe late last weekend, I was looking at, I think I was on Facebook, and I, uh, I have a lot of pages, music pages that I look at on there. And I believe this one was on Blabbermouth, maybe. I can't remember. An article came across about Gene Simmons of Kiss saying that him and Paul have put out an olive branch to Ace and Peter to join them on shows, on these final shows that Kiss are doing over the next 3 or 4 months. And I think mainly they were talking about the final two in New York. And Ace and Peter declined or whatever, and so not really surprised there. But it got me to thinking about. So what I'm going to talk about today is just kind of like that whole thing and how things have been going with that or whatever. So anyway, just start out by saying that Kiss is my all-time favorite band. Now, musically, as I've gotten older and everything, musically, no, they're not. They're musically they're not. Um, I've said it many times. It's Tool for me, but Kiss is my overall favorite band in that they've kind of been the soundtrack to my life. I remember listening to them at a very early age. My brother is 16 years older than me. And I'll see if you can do the math here. But so when they came out, he was in his mid teens. And I was a very, very young lad. Um, and so I remember one of the first memories I have of listening to music when I was that age or at any age. My first memory of listening to music, period, was Kiss. Alive. Um, Pretty much any song off of there. I mean, that was an album that he bought probably not long after it came out, and that he played on a regular basis. And I was always, around him. He's my big brother. I looked up to him, and so that is an album that influenced my musical taste for a long time, and it got me into Kiss. Okay, and Kiss became my favorite band. I mean, you just imagine a very small boy seeing those four faces and Gene Simmons doing his thing. And, back then there wasn't a lot of video of them. So all you had was the images, the still images and the music. And it was just kind of different back then. But it was just very kind of mesmerizing and got my juices flowing about the band. And, all through my elementary school years, high school years, college years, and most of my adulthood, Kiss has been my overall favorite band because I think we're gonna balloon statement this with for their whole career. Okay, they're great live, put on a great stage show. The musicianship is solid. It's not great. It's not. There's so many other bands that have better musicianship, instrument to instrument. There's just no doubt about that. But they wrote some very iconic songs. Some songs that were, Ace Frehley influenced a generation of glam metal guitar players, right? Paul Stanley at one time was considered one of the best, if not the best, front man in the business. I think he is still up there, although in later years I think he's got a little bit too chatty sometimes on stage. But Gene just had this aura about him, and Peter Criss, honestly, in my opinion, when Peter was in his prime, he was one of the best drummers on the planet. You could put him up there with some of the greatest drummers that were around at the time that he was at his prime. So, having said that, back then they were a very influential band for me in a lot of ways, and I just I stuck with them all through the non-makeup years and the reunion years and all of that. So anyway, so having said that, they're on this final tour that's been going on now for well over 4 years. I know they didn't tour for about a year because of the COVID situation, but it's been going on for a while. And there's a lot of school of thought that that this is not going to be the end of the band, that this is just the end of the touring band, which I agree with. I'm kind of of the thought process of they're after this not going to go on any more massive tours. I feel like they probably won't do that. They're getting to that age where travel is probably becoming way too old. They've been doing it for almost 50 years, pretty much constant. They've got grown kids, but they're still, both Paul and Gene are in relatively good health as far as anybody knows. Um, so I feel like it's a point where they want to start enjoying their lives a little more than they have, you know, in previous years. So yeah, I feel like they're not going to go on any more massive tours. This is going to be it. Now, will it be the end of the band? No, it won't. Kiss. The only way Kiss to me ever ends, and I mean like I'm not talking about, there's been this talk about them, getting two other people to carry on and still use the name Kiss. And I'm not talking about that. Like at that point, it's done. But I think the only way that happens is if either Gene or Paul or both die. Like they're going to keep putting out stuff, probably not new music because they haven't put out a new album in 11 years and don't need to, quite honestly, because their last two were not very good. You could take the best songs off of Sonic Boom and Monster, the best three or four songs, and maybe have a decent album. So they're not doing that. They've started doing this off the soundboard stuff, which is really kind of cool. They haven't announced a new one in quite some time, but hopefully they will. And those are they're very cool. They're very raw, which is the cool part about it. They'll probably keep doing that. They've been putting out anniversary editions, sorry, of certain albums that are massive, like the Destroyer box set, Creatures box set. They can still do stuff like that. They're going to keep putting out merchandise. They're going to keep finding ways to make money off of their fans. And if their fans want to, me included, if their fans want to spend that money for it, great, great. So this will not be the end. That band will pretty much live forever, at least like that anyway. Okay, it's just the touring part. You won't be able to go see them and everything, which we'll get into this in a minute. But they're not what they were even 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Really, they're just not there. And so there's the thought that that's what's going to happen. They're just going to quit touring and probably they may do a Las Vegas residency here and there or a one-off show, and that'll probably happen from time to time. So, having said that, on this current tour, I've seen them 6 times, I think, so far. I saw them in Memphis, Birmingham, St. Louis, Little Rock, Bossier City, Louisiana, and Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm in Atlanta, and they're coming to Nashville on a Monday night in October. I think Knoxville on a Thursday or Friday, and right after Thanksgiving or whatever. And they're not too far from me. I don't feel like I can feasibly work out, so I'm probably not going to see them again, which is fine. So there's been this talk about how are they using a lot of backing tracks, backing vocals? Yeah, they are. I don't know that musically they are. I know they're probably using a backing track for the piano on Beth when Eric comes out there and does all that. Look, I'm gonna give you both sides of my opinion on the Eric and Tommy thing, but here's my thing about Eric doing Beth on stage playing a piano. It's fucking stupid. It looks stupid. I'm sorry. I realize it's a farewell tour, and I realize that That's their biggest hit of all time, and the fans kind of want to see it, whatever. And all the girls go, but no, just no, just stop it. Like it is a 3 minute waste of concert time. Like that you could literally, if you've had to pee all night, okay, and you just, I don't want to miss anything, I don't miss anything. But that's a time to go do it. That, that is a time to go pee, is when they do Beth. It's dumb. It's just so dumb. I'm sorry. I'm a lifelong Kiss fan, but it's stupid. Just stop it. They're not going to, because they've been doing it the whole tour, and it is what it is. But in my opinion, it doesn't belong. So anyway, I kind of got off on a tangent on that for a second, but it is what it is, because I don't agree with it. And and people have been going, okay, well then what about Tommy and Eric and the cat makeup, and Tommy in the space man makeup. And look, here's the thing. This is the way and this is going to encapsulate a lot of the way I feel about the band from the time Ace and Peter left the first time through now. Is this: when the reunion happened in 1996, it was one of the biggest anticipated and biggest reunions of a 70s band, 80s band, maybe ever. Okay. It was, I mean, I was at the time in my mid 20s, and I never was able to see the original four live. And it gave me that opportunity. And I took advantage of that opportunity many times while they were together. It was fantastic. It was like 1977 all over again. It was great. And then it it went to Hell in a Handbasket again. And so everybody's like, well, they can't go back to whatever. They can't. And so they knew that they couldn't go back to non makeup again. They wouldn't draw the fans. It just would not happen. All right. But Gene and Paul also had the right, even though they said it was a farewell tour at the time in 2000, which honestly, it was just basically ended up being a farewell to Ace and Peter, or at least to the original four, because Peter did come back in the band for 5 seconds. But it became a farewell to that. And so for them to be dictated by somebody else, and they've said this before, and I totally agree, for them to be dictated by somebody else is you're going to end your career because these two guys are leaving again, is BS. Let them continue on. They wanted to continue on. They got, so Peter left after the North American leg of the farewell tour. They had some shows in Australia and Japan, I think. They brought in Eric Singer, and that's how him getting into cat makeup started. Brought in Eric Singer to finish those dates. Okay. And then somehow or another, I don't remember the story, Peter comes back in the band, but Ace is out. And the story I heard one time is right. So when Peter came back, Ace was technically still in the band, and they were about to do this co-headlining thing with Aerosmith in 03, which was not co-headlining. And the reason it was not is because Kiss never played last any night. It was, they always went on before Aerosmith. And the story I heard is that Ace was like, you know what? I'm not opening for anybody. We don't open for Aerosmith. If we can't alternate, I'm not doing it. And I applaud him for that, because he's right. That shouldn't have been done that way. But anyway, so Peter stays for that tour. They bring Tommy Thayer in, and then Peter leaves again. And quite, made sense to bring Eric Singer back, right? He'd already been in the makeup, whatever, done a overseas tour with them. So let's give it a shot. Now, they struggled for a little while to draw fans, because there was still that memory of Ace and Peter being back in the band, I think, and a lot of people didn't want to show up. But as they've gone over the years with Tommy and Eric, they've drawn more and more and more and better for the most part. The reason I know that is used to live in Memphis, Tennessee. In 04, the first tour with Eric and Tommy, they came to Memphis, and the place was maybe half full. All right. They didn't play there again until 19 on this current end of the road tour. The place was packed. So they've gained traction, and they became and they were started off on that first tour very solid. but it was still, it wasn't quite as tight. And over the years, as that band has played together, because this version of the band, this current version, has been together for almost 20 years, for 19 years, and it shows musically. It shows in terms of the musically they're pretty tight. And if you look at video and audio, listen to audio from '04 forward, it usually gets better and better and better. So, people gave them a lot of flack and still do for having those two in that makeup. And it's like, look, Ace and Peter sold the rights to their makeup. Plain and simple. They shot themselves in the foot. They gave up that part of their life. Gene and Paul can do what they want to with it. The fans are still coming to see them, right? It's not like, so if people think they're making a mockery of this, maybe they are, but the fans are still buying the tickets and going to shows. So why would you stop, right? And quite honestly, were it not for Eric and Tommy, Kiss would be dead, because you couldn't have gotten anybody to fill those shoes and play the parts the way they're supposed to be played the way that those two have. Bruce Kulick maybe could have come back in the band, but I don't think he wanted to be in makeup. You'd had to get another drummer. Where are you going to go? I mean, you could find somebody, but it's nobody that has a history or chemistry with the band, right? So they saved that band in terms of being able to still tour and put on a show. They saved it. Without them, yeah, 2000 Farewell would have been the end. And quite honestly, that would have been a shame, because they still had a lot of years in them to get a lot of stuff done and put on some very good shows, which they have. And so I'm one of those guys that, did the original Kiss get me into Kiss? Absolutely it did. No doubt that's where it was at. But I've been a fan of the band in every era of the band. And I think a true Kiss fan, and this is just my opinion, there are a lot of Kiss fans out there who tell me, no, it's just the original four, anything else is shit. Okay, that's your opinion. But in my opinion, number one, if you're a fan of the band, you're a fan of the band in every era. As long as it doesn't become totally ridiculous, like, I'm sorry, and I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks, but like Leonard Skinner. There's nobody left alive from the original band. Why are they still doing this? Why? I realize Johnny Van Zant has been in the band for 30 plus years now. I get it. I realize Ricky Matlock was in the band for about that long before they ever got signed. I get it. But you talk about bands starting to make a mockery of themselves and becoming nothing but a tribute band. I'm sorry. Leonard Skinner has done that. Foreigner has done that. Does their guitar player, I think his name is Mick Jones, does he even play with them anymore? And they're going on a farewell tour? Are you serious? No. That's a mockery. I'm sorry. So, yeah. Is Kiss making a mockery of themselves in that respect? Not compared to that. They've still got 50% of their original members in the band. Okay? And they still play fairly good. And they still put on a heck of a show for the two main members of that band, Gene and Paul, to be in their 70s. And so if the fans want to buy it, fine. But I've been a fan of the band pretty much every era they've had. I think musically their best era live was the Revenge era. We had Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer and Gene and Paul. You listen to some of the YouTube recordings and bootleg stuff, they are so tight and play the stuff so well. But I've been a fan of every era. And for me, is it time for them to give this up? Yes, it is. Because Paul's voice has been an issue now for well over 10 years, to where he can't hit the high notes. When he tries to go on his lower register, it doesn't sound right. He is needing help with backing tracks and everything, and that's becoming bad. It is. They do need to give the touring up. They do, and let their legacy live and speak for itself before they tarnish it. Do I think they've tarnished it yet? I don't. Do I think it could happen soon? It could. Like they've said this in December, I think it's second and third or whatever, New York's their last two shows, of touring. They need to let it be that. They do. Because if they change their mind a year down the road and go on a massive tour again, then it does become a joke. But that brings me to those last two shows. So, like I said in the beginning of this episode, there was an article that came out that said Gene and Paul had offered Ace and Peter a spot, to come out with them. Probably, like I said, I'm guessing probably those last couple shows and nothing else. And so the question is, with that, why would Ace and Peter not do it? And here's where I'm going with this. If they're trying to prove that it wouldn't be massive or it wouldn't be historic or whatever, we'll show them. We'll just not show up, and it'll bomb. It's not going to bomb, folks. It's not going to bomb. They're selling tickets. People are still coming to see them. It's in New York, for God's sake. It's where they started. They've played New York hundreds of times, probably. People are going to come see them. It's not going to bomb. It's not going to be a fail for that reason. So that's not it. Are they? Well, we may not get paid enough. Something's better than nothing, because I mean, it's historically known that Ace and Peter, neither one, are very good with their money. They blow it. They've always been, money's always burned a hole in their pockets. The drug issues, the whatever's. So something's better than nothing, guys. And quite, Peter's basically had no success virtually being a solo artist. Ace has had mild success. Most of that was in the 80s, early 90s, and then a little bit a decade or so ago. And he puts out some decent stuff, although I've heard lately, supposedly live, he's not very good at all. But, if you come and play a couple songs each show, give you something. They'll do something for you. And you've got a chance to make this band go out the way it's supposed to, with a couple original members, with the two other original members making an appearance here's a thought, Ace, Peter, do it for the fans. Do it for the fans. Do you ever think the fans might want to see that? You want to, because I think they try to, Ace in particular lately has been very vocal about trying to project all this on Gina Paul and try to make them look bad with the fans. So are they doing that for the fans? We'll do something else for the fans. Come back on stage with those guys one more time or whatever, even for a couple songs, and give the fans what they want. Okay? Complete not only the Kiss legacy, complete your legacy. Why not? What do you have to lose? Nothing. Now, could they play full shows? Probably not. Ace, maybe. Peter, no. And I think it's been well documented over the past several years. He doesn't have it anymore. And, I remember back for the farewell tour of 2000 with Ace and Peter, you could tell his drumming just wasn't what it was even a year or so earlier. He had the carpal tunnel issues and everything. He's had some other medical issues. And plus, he's almost 80. He's the oldest of the original four. So would he be able to do that? No. But could he come out for like maybe Black Diamond, Rock and Roll Night, and then he could do Beth the way it was meant to be done, right? Do that? Yeah, maybe he could. But I don't see this happening unless this is a media marketing masterpiece on both sides, and they got together and say, hey, we're going to make sure that everybody knows this is not happening. We're not doing this. And then night of, they show up on stage. I doubt it. It could. It could. Kiss has been really good at marketing themselves over the years, and this would be another great kind of reverse psychological marketing ploy. Would be saying no, and then they show up. I think it'd be nice if Bruce would show up some too. Because honestly, Vinnie Vincent, whatever, that dude has just he was a decent songwriter, in my opinion, a good guitar player, but his sound was just weird. My opinion, Bruce Kulick's the best guitarist they ever had. He's better than Tommy. He's better technically than Ace. And if you listen to some of their stuff, especially if you listen to Revenge, and if you listen to Carnival of Souls, which isn't a great album, but it's got some really good guitar parts on it, Bruce is the best guitarist they ever had. And I think that they should get him to come out for a little bit, But anyway, is it going to happen? I don't know. I think in a lot of ways Ace and Peter may be being a little babyish about this. I think they're definitely being stubborn, if nothing else. And Ace especially trying to gain a little publicity for himself and everything, which is fine. It's fine. But after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing and all this, it's like just just bury the hatchet. And if this is the end of Touring Kiss, if it is, which like I said, it should be, but if it is, just come out for two shows on a Friday, Saturday night, or Saturday or Sunday, whatever's in New York in December, and play a few songs each night. Say your goodbyes, and then wash your hands of each other. Fine, you're over. You're fine. But give the fans one more time what they want. That's my opinion. What happened, we'll see. So anyway, you guys, let me know what you think about all this. Please let me know what your opinion of should Ace and Peter bury the hatchet with Gene and Paul and come out, for a couple songs those nights and play, or should they continue to tell Gene and Paul to go screw themselves, or do you think they're acting babyish? Is this a big marketing ploy? Is this really going to happen? And they're trying to make it like it's not. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed and like this channel, please do that. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so you'll know when I have new episodes coming out. That's usually about once a week. You can also check out the audio of these on Spotify, the Marler Music Show. That way you can listen to me when you're driving to work and get bored driving to work, probably more than you already are. And I'm also going to put in the description in this video, my wife and I have a YouTube channel about our life here called Our New World. I'd like for y'all to check that out as well. And I'll put the description and the link below for that. So you can watch me. And then when you watch ours, you'll have a lot more things that are visually appealing to look at, namely my wife. She's gorgeous. But I'll put that down below. And, just also, comment here about any episode ideas you have. Let me know what you thought about the episode and what your opinions are on the topic that we talked about. And so I'm going to sign off here. I've got a lot of stuff to do tonight, so I'm going to sign off. But I'll leave you with my thought as I always do. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself. And life will be good to you. Peace.